So welcome back, everyone, to the Unconventional Money Moves podcast. I'm Josh. I have my friend Ari Medrano with us today, and we've been working on this for a while. Ari has worked with major brands such as ExxonMobil, NBC Universal, so she definitely knows the corporate landscape. And Ari's story is she had a brain injury and went from laying in a bed to the dance floor in about 3 weeks, whereas she says from the dance floor, from what was it, the
from wheelchair to the dance floor in 21 days.
Wheelchair, the dance floor in 21 days. And so Ari's going to talk about that journey a little bit. I know you shared this story in other places before, and ultimately you were able to take this experience and turn it into a business, essentially, by using your corporate background as well as a life-changing event to help inspire, people, organizations. You do a lot of talk, so super happy to have you on. And with that being said, with this experience, obviously, we don't need to talk about like the laying in the bed, all that stuff, but like, what was going on in that experience? Like, were you there, like thinking about what the next steps were? Were you not able to like think about anything? Like,
yeah, it's
pretty crazy.
It is. And I look back at it and it was my own darn life. So first and foremost, Joshua, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here. And I never get tired of sharing. I never get tired of inspiring. I never get tired of giving other people tools that they can use to get out of their own paralyzation and whatever's holding them back. So I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so very much. What it was for me, truly in the beginning, I wish I could say, oh yeah, I was completely motivated and inspired and I knew I would get out of this bed. Yeah, that's not what happened. I am human. And so what ended up first and foremost happening was going, oh my gosh, I can't move. Oh my gosh, I can't get up. Like all the, oh my goshes, or all the realizations of the facts of what were happening at that moment. This is where it's super important to understand that all the work that you do prior to any event matters. Meaning you may find yourself in a good spot right now. You may have all your, limbs working. Awesome. Great for you. However, I need you to work on your mindset all the time, like every day, all day, because you never know when you're going to need it. And just in case there's a gap, also pick out your network cleverly, right? And so it was super important that I didn't have people in my life that went, oh, how sad. Oh, don't worry, we'll go out and have a drink when you're out. Ooh, do you want me to sneak some booze in? Like, we all have those people, y'all. We all, and they all have a place in our life. It's okay. But at this moment, that's not what I needed. What I needed was someone to stand in the gap and go, yeah, no, I get it. I hear the facts, but that's not what's happening in your life. You are not paralyzed. No. And I'm going, you go a whole lot of crazy. What do you mean? Like, clearly I'm in bed. ICU. I'm paralyzed. No. Those are the facts of your story. But what do you see? Do you see yourself laying in your bed for the rest of your life? What do you see, Ari? Do you see yourself walking? Then walk. Let's go take a walk. And so what I did was I took a walk with my friend in my mind, y'all. Didn't leave my bed, didn't leave the ICU, but I went in my head. So the most beautiful part about our minds, and challenging, is that our minds, our brains don't know what's reality and what's not. It only knows what we feed it. And so I started feeding it me walking. And so then the next language now in my head was no longer, oh, I'm not walking. Oh, I'm paralyzed. The language in my head is I am walking, and I'm not just walking, I'm dancing out. And so body, you need to respond. So every point from that point forward became my new realization was we're walking. Body, you better get to moving. How you're going to do it, that's up to you and God and the universe or whatever it is that you all believe in. I believe in God. So it was, let's get this done. I'll do my part. He'll do his. So that started a journey of getting up, getting the thing done. And as I look back on my life going, what is a thread in my life that not just this time, because there was another part of my life where I had a 21% heart function. I was told I was going to die within 30 days. Me and my baby that was inside of me at 30 days to live is what I was told. Fell out. I was, my son was 6 months, right? Didn't have fully developed lungs or anything. Did I die? No, I was 28 years old. I am 51. I don't think I look too shabby. I don't take any medication. I don't take any prescriptions. I don't do any of them. The best health of my life. It's the mindset work. And so that then transformed into Why am I the only 1% medical miracle? I didn't do anything fancy. I don't have access to anything else that anyone else doesn't have access to. We all have a mind. We just need to learn to access it correctly and truly have it work for us and not go on the facts of life, but the facts of what I believe in my mind, and my body will respond.
Yeah, and I
That
think
was
that's
all.
like super, super important is, get on social media and like get all these people like flexing, showing off their bodies. But like ultimately, we all have, our body can only take us so far, but our mind pretty much has unlimited capabilities. And like what you were telling me there reminded me of watching a documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger and how he's like, I'm in the gym and I'm smiling. Everyone's like, why are you smiling? He's like, well, every time I lift up that weight in my mind, I visualize myself holding up that trophy.
Yes. Hello. That is absolutely the mindset work. It all starts in the mind, because first it goes from the mind, and then it's a thought, and then it's an action. So he saw it first, he got excited, and then it went into action. So then he manifested into action. It's not like this, a lot of folks go, oh, just have all these affirmations, and if you say the things, it'll happen. No, actually, that's not the way it works, but go ahead and say things all day long. It works along with your thought and then an action. So how you respond to the thoughts in your life, what you say matters, right? So what you're saying to yourself and what you're saying to your cells manifests into the action of your life. Those then become the facts of your life. So choose your thoughts wisely. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, and it's like super important, no matter where you are, to have that positive mindset, to visualize where you want to go and realize that in order to take those steps, you have to know in your mind where you're going, but you have to take the steps. Otherwise, you're just gonna be the person talking about the glory days, living in the past rather than living in the present.
Yeah. So it's so big. I love that you brought that up, Joshua. I love that you brought that up, because it reminds me of something that I absolutely speak about, which is living in your future present and not your past present. The majority of us go around life saying, having the same thoughts, doing the same thing, having the same rituals, and expecting a different result. Like, that's madness. Why would you think anything would change, right? So if you want something to change, you need to change what you're thinking about and what you're saying and what you're actually believing. So if I want to be, let me just, a figure skater, right? I want to be the best figure skater. And I just keep saying, I want to be the best figure skater, but I'm sitting there eating all the junk, and I'm watching all the junky TV, and damn, I'm laughing at all the people that are failing. And, oh, but I'm going to be the best, figure skater. What am I doing? What am I? I'm not feeding my mind anything that is useful to get me there, right? So if I then ground myself with, I am the number one figure skater in the world, and I wake up, how would I be? What does the number one figure skater in the world do when they get up in the morning? How does my day look as the number one figure skater in the world? What does my routine look like as the number one figure skater in the world? What does my energy feel like as the number one? Do you see what I'm saying? So when we go from just talking to believing and encapsulating that emotion, that just like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, right? Like, I see myself. What do you see yourself as? Right? And attach your emotion to that and let your energy flow from that. Now that is life-changing, not an affirmation. It'll go along with the thought, right? The talk, and then the action, but it's also in the beingness. So I'm already in my future present, not in my past present. I'm not going to talk about, as you said, oh, the glory days. Let me open up that yearbook. Well, that's all you're ever going to be, because that's the only place your mind ever goes. So go, and the flow will go where your mind goes, right? So if I'm already in my future present, so I'm working with the end in mind, I'm pulling out what's out there and bringing it in here, period. Because again, your mind doesn't know what's fact or fiction. It only knows what you feed it. So feed it where you want to be, and be that now. Incorporate that in your life now, and the world will give you what you ask for. The world will adjust to who you say you are and who you say you be, and be that.
Yeah, totally. And anyone that's like say this is like hocus pocus. There's a difference between like having a belief that you're on the right path and being in denial about something. Like for me, at a young age, I knew I wasn't gonna be an athlete. I like playing sports, but ultimately the world is big and you're small. And there's typically in sports, it's very competitive. And ultimately, most people, no matter how good you are, aren't gonna make it professionally, but you live this dream out. So you got to be able to not be in like denial of like, oh, I'm gonna be, let's use your figure skater example. Sometimes you have to have almost a loss of a dream, such as like you almost you had a huge loss, and you have to figure out how to turn this loss from a, you know, not poor little old me, but turn it into a positive, which what you're doing currently in your business and how you're assisting with you know, organizations and different groups with are you working with them on what specifically?
It's very different. It's very individual for everybody, right? So if
Mhm.
it's off a stage, it's who am I speaking to? Am I speaking to college students? Am I speaking to doctors? Am I speaking to, you know, physical therapists? Because I have stories for all of them, right? Of how they can move the marker either with their patients or with themselves. Everything usually starts within self, right? So I previously was married to a physician before, right? It mattered how his mindset was in the home before he went and worked on somebody, right? So your mindset matters. I don't care who you are or what position you're in or what level you're at. Getting yourself right, getting yourself centered, right? Coming from a place of abundance in all areas of your life, making sure that you're taking care of your mind and your home before you go and touch other minds and other homes and other bodies and all those kinds of things, it matters. So it doesn't matter who the audience is, but what does matter is what I speak into them, right? That does matter. And so if it's youth or if it's high schoolers, it's more about self-esteem, right? It never kind of changes, but the words change. We go from self-esteem to self-worth as adults, right?
Mhm.
So in the high school setting, I will speak about their self-esteem. In the adult setting, it's about our self-worth, right? And our unworthiness, because we truly are majority of the time running off of programs that we picked up when we were 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10. And what I mean by programs is like who Ari was when she was 5 years old. Sometimes the way, and I got to be very conscious of this, sometimes the way I react, notice I didn't say respond, sometimes the way I react is because 5-year-old Ari is protecting herself from whatever victimization was happening during that time. But that's not needed right now because I'm good and I'm whole and I'm healed and I've moved on. But sometimes 5-year-old Ari goes, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I really want to throw a tantrum right now." Right. But we got to learn how to reel those things in, but know that they exist and it's okay. I have a 5-year-old Ari, I have a 10-year-old Ari, I have a 15, you have them too. We have all of these parts in our life that constantly want to pop off, right? Because we don't know if we're needed at this time. So because we're consistently working in that subconscious level, we're not even conscious of what's happening. That's
Yeah.
why we need to really take a look at what are we thinking about? Why are we thinking about? Is how I'm reacting actually helpful to the situation in life, in business, in relationships, all of the things. So when you ask me, what do I do when I go out and I speak? It's very individualized. It's very tailored. Am I speaking to a sales team, you know, that needs to get motivated, that needs to get inspired? Well, then I need to tap into what their why is, why they're doing what they're doing. Because to all my CEOs, you know, and business owners, people aren't just working to get you rich. They need other motivation than that. Because the bottom line is, it is true. As a 9 to 5er, you are there to build someone else's dream life, quite frankly. So how do you
Mhm.
attach, right, to that? How do you attach to someone else's dream? Oh, well, it's a mindset shift. Oh, hold on a second. I'm my first business partner. So me being a 9 to 5er would mean I got to be in business with self. All right, self, what are we doing? What are the goals that we're setting? Because I don't want to work for the rest of my life to build someone else's empire. Where is my empire? Where is my blueprint? But it's okay. I have now a positive association with me being here now because I have a plan, right? So a different mindset. So it always depends on who it is that I'm speaking to, but it's always exciting and it's never the same.
Yeah, and obviously you are one of the very few people who were able to get out of this situation and are thriving. and turn it into a successful business. Like, did you have any idea this was going to happen? Were you just kind of like, this is kind of a good idea? Did it happen on accident? Did someone like come to you? Like, tell me more about
Yeah.
that.
Thanks for asking. You know, no, nothing in life happens by accident. We create everything that we have in life, 100%. Yes, even those things. For someone who's listening to this going, I did not create that A, B. I did not ask for. I will submit to you that everything that is in life that we have experienced in some form of drawing that into our life. When we learn to accept accountability, not responsibility for what other people do, but accountability for either how it entered or how we reacted or the lack of response. When we begin to accept accountability, then we're able to now start shifting and shaping the actual life that we want in our life. But that's a choice, right? And it's a very intentional choice. So what I did I know? No. Isn't it interesting though that I documented the entire process? I had a brain tumor. I had a full craniotomy, 47 staples. This was only 3 short years ago. This is my actual hair. I literally manifested the doctor not shaving my head. Who does? They always shave heads. I don't know if you ever been to a rehab room, people look janky. It is so sad. Outside of what they did to them already, like on top of that, you took away their physical identity. Holy moly. And I was going through a ton of negative things in life during that time. So I literally fell out. I was like, please, 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 I can't lose my hair. I've lost so much in my life already. Just don't do that to me. Yeah, I know it's a vain thing. You all just leave me alone. I just need to hang on to one dang thing. Just give me one thing. Leave my hair alone. And for the first time ever in the history of this surgeon's surgeries, he did not shave my head. He literally gave me a 1/4 of an inch halo around my head, to the point of these nurses kept hurting me and adjusting me. 47 staples, y'all. They had just drilled in my head, like literally my skull lifted out, drilled, lifted out a whole circle, put it back in, put in titanium pieces, and then stapled me back up. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to be a little bit softer with me, right? But they had to put a sign out my door because they couldn't even tell. Just one of the things, so many beautiful things that happened while I was in there. But even this is where I'm saying it's so important to train your mind before you get in there. Do all of the work before you actually need it. Because if I had never done mindset work, if I had never had a belief system of who I am and been grounded in that, and for me personally, it was my relationship with God, I don't know if I would have danced out of there in 21 days. It might have been 6 months, 10 months. It might have never happened. I don't know. What I do know is that I, interestingly enough, documented the whole process. Like, I only had one working hand, but that hand was taking selfies. That hand was taking pictures and video of the room. That hand was literally the first time my toes moved. And I have video where I am commanding my toes, saying, come on, little toes, you can do this. You can move. You got this. I believe in you. Literally, I'm sounding like a crazy woman to people, but not when I call them in to see my toes moving. All of a sudden, they're like, what? And then my leg starts moving. And now, and every day I got everyone so excited in there. All the nurses, all the CNAs, literally every morning would go, what are we celebrating today? What are we celebrating today? I had cheerleaders now, right? And then I made sure that everyone that ever came into my presence, was texting or calling, everyone understood Ari's walking out of here. No negative Nellies, no what would you do if. That's not even happening, period, right? But yes, it was very interesting. I documented, my very first audience, so you know, I have a picture of this, is I believe it was a rabbit and a teddy bear and a unicorn. They were sitting at the other end of the foot of my bed, and I'm talking to them and sharing with them how excited I am, how I'm walking out of here, how the doctor said that I wouldn't. I'm telling you, the world is wonderful. When we give it what we want, the way the world adjusts and responds is bananas amazing. But again, we need to be the ones that do the work. And so I documented it. I didn't even look back on it. It took a whole year. I got a new iPhone and I literally was about to delete. I was like, why am I holding on to all of this? Like, this is silly. I have all of this footage. Like, it's holding up all of my memory. And then something inside of me just said, keep it. So I put it into the cloud and it sat there. And then a year later, here I am, where I really felt the Lord telling me, that's awesome that you told you and your 5 friends what I did. That's awesome that you have this formula of how to go from wheelchair to dance floor in 21 days. That's awesome that you now see a thread in your life of what you've done is talking to your body and commanding your body and getting the results of your life. Do you think that I gave you the mouth that I gave you, the eloquency in your speech, the ability to move a room just for you and your 5 friends? No. I'm going to need you to use all that Athena energy that you have and your ability to impact and inspire and transform onto a stage. Did I ever know that that's what I was going to do? Absolutely not. But do I see the thread in my life, all of my life, that has been preparing me for all of this? Absolutely, yes. I started speaking on the streets of Skid Row in my early 20s, working with injection drug users. I
Mm.
started teaching gang members on, in East LA, Grape Street, how to have education and prevention of HIV and AIDS, drug and alcohol education and prevention, domestic violence education, prevention and intervention. The most challenging entities, right? Where you have to truly captivate quickly or literally your life depends on it. So I was training very early on, not knowing that I would be speaking now on stages with thousands. So it's been a beautiful journey.
So basically, like, you were doing these things, like, were you volunteering during these times? Was this like your job, like back in the day?
Yeah, it was my job back in the day. And I'll tell you, I absolutely 100% believe in mentors. Anyone who is out there, please each one teach one. That is the one thing that I had a beautiful mentor. I took a Chicano studies class in school, at university, and this teacher said, "What do you do?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I literally had just had my child. I was a single mom. I was 21 years old, and I said, I'm a receptionist at a car dealership." And she says, "No, you were a receptionist at a car dealership. I'm going to mentor you." And I thought, what is this woman? Her name was Dr. Susie Rodriguez. She's graduated in heaven. I owe her so much. I absorbed her like a sponge. And she brought me into rooms and places. She was the woman who was the liaison for HIV and AIDS education under the Ryan White Act dollars for President Clinton at the time. I had no idea. So here I am in boardrooms and rooms. This is when cell phones were like in a car, right in the middle of the council. And she'd sit me in there and she said, "Ari, just shh, be quiet. I just want you to know how to control a room. And I never want you to feel any less than because men are the ones in here or you're Latina. You will learn how to command a room and feel worthy." I was 21 at the time. And I'm in boardrooms and I'm in rooms that I had no business being in. But someone saw something in me. So I tell folks who are listening here, who you have a way to impact a generation by each one teaching one, do that. Do that for the future generations. So for me, she exactly what she said is what happened. I used to be, right away, I got put into a nonprofit organization as a street outreach worker. Listen, I went to the interview. I said all the wrong things, everything. Like I cringe at my answers now. However, what I did know, by the third interview, no one wanted to tell me or tell my mentor, who was renowned, right, that I sucked, basically. And there's no way they were going to hire me. I had no background. I had no business there. So they sent me to the executive director and founder of the organization to have my third interview. So basically, she could be the one to tell the other woman and then tell me, "So sorry, you're not for us," right? So I went in, but before I went in this time, I remember looking in the mirror as I was practicing my answers, and I said, "You know what? Who am I fooling? I don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea about HIV and AIDS and domestic violence and drugs and all of those. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I know my heart. I know my heart for people. I know I've always been a person who wants to do things that can help inspire." Right. I've always did all the little projects. I was the Girl Scout, right? I always volunteered for the meals and all the things, right? My parents were evangelical preachers, so I was very big on seeing lives transformed. So I had a heart for that. So I said, and I know that I am a sponge, and whatever it is that they can teach me, I will be the first one in and the last one out. That's what I went in with. When she started, I said, "You know what? I'm just going to stop right now. I'm just going to let you know where I know where we're at." I bombed these 2 interviews. I don't know anything that these women know. Respect to them. But what I do know is this. I know my work ethic. I know my heart, and I know I'll be the hardest worker here and the most intelligent one. I will absorb everything like a sponge, be the first one in and the last one out. You decide if that's who you want to hire for this position. And I will only excel, and that is a guarantee from me. And she turned to me and she said, "You're hired." And that was the beginning of my nonprofit world. And I went from being a street outreach worker to being a director of a drug and alcohol a company in Pasadena, California, where I then had my own employees and I impacted a ton of beautiful gang youth. It was a jail diversion program for them. So I wrote grants. I went on to do beautiful things, but it was about getting real with who I am and being grounded in that, knowing who I'm not and being okay with that and going, look, I'm for you, or I'm not for you, but I'm just coming with who I am. And if that's not enough for you, then I'm not for you. So that's how I started.
Yeah. And I mean, whenever you're getting started in something, like everyone sucks. Like no matter where you are, I mean, when you start, you're going to suck compared to where you're going in the future. And ultimately, not having like imposter syndrome, essentially taking the skill that you have as a superpower and saying like, listen, I don't know anything about this. I have this though, and you could use this, and here's why. And so you transform that. Now, like working with so you're working with like people in gangs, like, is that scary? What was that like?
I will say I look back at my life and go, what was I? I literally have just been fearless
What are you
all my life.
thinking?
What was I thinking? Literally, Grape Street, Compton. I'm like a 5-foot little chicanita Latina, right? I'm in East LA and 3rd Street, 1st Street. Look, I'm not gonna name all the gangs. I don't want you to come after me. But no, I love them. They were wonderful with me. But here's the thing. There was a mutual respect with us, right? Number one, I also know I was very easy on the eyes. I'm not dumb. Look at whatever got me in and got me not killed. That was great, right? But what they also saw was I wasn't there for the paycheck. I was, even though, I was just starting, I was also a single mom. So I very much identified with many of them, right? I had other opportunities that they didn't have. However, instead of going, oh, woe was you, I literally come from the stance, and this is who I am. So if anyone ever works with me, one-on-one coaching, or when I'm on a stage, I give it to you straight with no chaser. I don't hold back. Why? Because I'm here for you. Why? Because I actually want to see change in you. I'm not the pacifier. Oh, that's good. Oh, I know you went through that. That's so sad. No, I get it. And now what? And now what? Awesome. Great story. Is it working for you or not? Would you like things to shift or not? So I went in with the same stance that you see me now, I did with them. When they tell me, oh, that's awesome. Okay, great. I heard you. Got it. Now what? Do you want to stay in that, or do you want to do something different? Because by the way, you have a brilliant mind. The same way that you sit there and you do your drug deals and you sell this and you sell that. Can you imagine if you turn that around in business? Like, you are the greatest salesman ever. Wouldn't you like to learn how to do sales and not go to jail? Like, I'm just asking questions. So I begin to share with them things that they never knew were even possibilities. A lot of folks didn't even, they had never, to see someone who had lived such an atrocious life, and there are some really heart-wrenching stories in there, right? That they've had to build up this callous to people, places, and things because of what has happened to them, right? So I got that part, but then they never actually went on the other side of themselves to see other possibilities they can also latch onto. Like, let's remember who you were when you were 3 or 5 and the things that you loved. Let me dream with you. Let's dream together. So I was storyboarding with them before I even knew there were storyboards. Before people started talking about storyboard, we were doing that in our mind already. I was doing mindset work before I even knew I was doing mindset work. So then I would take them to the beach. I'd get the counties to give us buses, and I'd just pack them with all these gang members in the car, in the bus. And I would literally bring these little, those old school where you grill, and I'd buy carne asada, and I would just, I'd be that mom that they either didn't have, not because they couldn't have her, or they didn't have her, but because they couldn't, because she was off working 2 or 3 jobs, right? Because dad wasn't there and they were the ones out, making money, right? And so all of a sudden, then I became this other figure to them, where they saw women in a different light also, right? Where they now saw me respected. Mind you, I'm in my 20s, right? I'm not far from their age either. But the way that I showed up for them, And the way that I was able to see through them and see through the BS of their hardcores, because I would tell them, look, you can either work with me or you can work with the prison guard. You decide. Like, I'm thinking I'm a little cuter, but you decide. Like, okay. And they would just laugh. Or I would just show up at their house, like literally show up with a bag of groceries. And they'd have tears in their eyes going, no one's ever done that. Yeah, we've had social workers that come to take us away or take my little sister away, but no one came to just give. So very early on, especially with folks that were marginalized, you know, the alcoholic, the drug addict that was living underneath the freeway, I would go underneath freeways, you know, be giving out food. I'd be giving out condoms, y'all. Strong Christian. You know what? It doesn't matter until you get things better in your life. Doesn't mean that you need to die within that life. Like, I'm going to give you tools to help keep you healthy and strong, and have you come back for one more day, because that next day you may decide to get sober. And I'm here for it. Here's my card. Call me. I've had morgues call me because my card was the only card that people had attached to their toe tag. True story, y'all. I've buried so many folks. Right. But again, it's the heart to serve. And so I really do believe that that heart that I cultivated as a young age, seeing my parents serve for so many years, that I then moved that into my own life and realized that life is about serving. So I'm a service to others. How can I serve you? And I serve.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember, like, we're all just people, and a lot of people, the old phrase is don't judge a book by its cover. Yet, it's very hard for people to do that or not do that. Like, you look at someone on the street, it's like, that's a person. Like, you gotta look through everything. Like, you gotta like look through them, like, and see like who they are, not just like, oh, that person's gonna like shoot me if I talk to him. Let me just like walk past them.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm also saying use wisdom, because they might. Like, I'm not gonna. I mean, you got to use wisdom. You got to use discernment. But 9 times out of 10, I will tell you that when you approach people in a humanistic way, they respond back to you in that way. I never felt. I knew that my life was in danger every day, but I never felt like my life was in danger, if that makes sense, every day. Like, I knew the possibility could be there, right? I knew there was guns everywhere. I knew that every person that I was speaking with had a gun on them. I knew that, but that's not where I flowed from. My flow was always, I'm here to give. I'm not here to receive. And they knew we were under contract. They knew that we were getting paid. And they would try and push that limit. Oh, you're just here because blah, blah, blah. But when I showed up with pan dulce, for those of you who don't speak Spanish, pan dulce is like sweet bread. When I showed up with pan dulce, or I'd show up with a carafe of hot, you know, chocolate, or abuelita's chocolate, like that's a shift. I'm showing a connection. So connecting is also super important, right? And so it's not about I'm here to take, but I'm here to give. And I'm going to be creative in the way that I give, so that you also see that I'm not like everyone else. Because yes, you have a lot of facts in your life to prove all that you're thinking about, but I'm going to be the one that ruffles the feathers. I'm going to be the one that makes you go, what the? Why are you doing this? What are you getting? Are they paying you more? Like, no, because you're worthy. Because you're worthy.
Yeah, I mean, in life and business, like, you don't fight fire with fire. That's just gonna make the fire bigger. So you have to like go in a heated situation and take a different approach to calm things down a little bit. So like, if you're like in a heated argument with someone, or maybe most commonly, like, everyone talking about like, how do you handle objections? It's like, well, why are they objecting? Get to the root of the cause of the issue. And when you find out the root of the cause of what is happening in that situation, you can then diffuse it and bring us all together, rather than just like, you know, you say the earth's flat, I say the earth's round.
Right. And it really, and it goes back to when we accept responsibility for what's happening in the room, right? So if I accept responsibility for what's happening, that then shifts me to my mind, right? To find a way of, okay, what am I missing? What can I say? Who can I be? What can I do? What can I think of? Right? But if I come from a place of, oh my gosh, what a jerk. Oh, it's all them. If they can only change. Oh, can they only hear themselves? Like, what is wrong with them? Does that leave any room for inspiration? Does that leave any room for transformation? Does that leave any room for creative thinking? All of that's out. But the moment I take responsibility, Again, I'm not saying that what is happening is my fault, but what I am saying is if I take accountability, right? Accountability for what's happening, I can take a look and go, and I'm responsible for the accountability within me. That's the responsibility I have, right? Not for whatever is flying out of someone's mouth. Okay, that's not my responsibility. You get to keep that. Those are called boundaries. This is where you stop and this is where I start. But if I take accountability for the responsibility of what's happening in the room, now my mind is starting to go, should I change my tone? Is it my tonality? Is it my gestures? Is it maybe I need to sit down? Should I stand up? What thoughts are running through their head that maybe I can counter? What? So now my brain is looking for answers that wouldn't be there if I'm blame shifting, if I'm just shutting it down. So it's a beautiful thing when you begin to realize actually how much power you have to change the atmosphere in what you're in, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of reminded me of like a story where I was like walking to a store and this guy like was riding on a bike and goes, "Hey man, do you have any money?" And I was like, "What do you need money for?" He's like, "I got a job interview." I was like, "All right, like what happened?" He's like, "Oh, I just got out of jail." I was like, "How about this, man? I'm gonna go to the store. I need to go get what I can get. When I come out, I'm gonna take you to go buy clothes. How's that sound?" He's like, "All right, thanks, man." And then I like walked in and I came out, couldn't find him. And I think I realized like my niceness, like I think he was lying to me. And he's like, "Man, this is actually a good person. I can't like just take money from him." And he like ran away. I was like ready to take him.
Right. I love that story. Right. Right. And sometimes someone may actually be telling the truth, and that would be an incredible blessing, right? There are moments when they ask me that. And again, because I've done the work that I've done on the streets with them, I'll look at them and go, no, seriously, what are you going to get? You're going to go drink. You're going to go get high. Listen, I'll have more respect for you if you come with me to the truth. Don't look at me and think that you're going to snow me, because you're not going to. And they'll be like, what are you doing? What? You're an alcoholic. You're going to go get some whiskey. You're going to go get, oh man, why do you got to call me out? And I'll laugh. And sometimes, because I'll tap in and like, do I need to give them this? Do they need to just see that it actually works, to be honest? Sometimes the answer is yes. And I give it to them. I'm like, go have a beer on me. I hope that one day you see that this actually isn't working for you, and that there's another way to respond to all the things in your life. And so then they get like, whoa. And now they're taking the money going, what just happened? Right? But it's an entryway in. Or other times I do like what you did. Well, awesome. I'll go to the grocery store right now. Do you want to come with me? I've done that before, and a woman said yes. And I actually went and got a full cart of groceries for her and her little daughter that happened to be waiting. Had no idea. So you never know. So yes, I love your response. Yeah. Show up in a generous way. Show up in a way that you can. I'm not saying to go and you do this for everybody, right? But again, it's tap into the vibration of the world. Like, we all have energy, right? What is the energy that they're giving off? Are they giving an energy off like, I need my fix, I need my fix? So we all know they're lying. Come on, right? Or are they giving off an energy of, yeah, I'm in desperate need right now, right? Or I do have this job interview and I stink. I don't even know where to take a shower, right? So, but be prepared to respond. Yeah, I love that. I love that story.
Yeah, and you can totally take that approach in life or business. Essentially, if you're like meeting with someone, like, listen, like if you don't want to sign up with me, just tell me. Like, let's not play the whole ghosting game. Just like being upfront, and you don't have to be a jerk about it. Just being upfront, honest, and concise with what your expectations are. I show you respect, you show me respect. Let's work through this together. If it's not a good fit, that's cool. Like we can't be a good fit for everyone.
Right.
That's
Right.
not the way the world rolls. But like ultimately, if you have the right mindset and you're actually looking to provide the advice and guidance people are looking for, and you have your heart's in it, then ultimately that's going to lead you to the right places that you want to be in terms of what you're thinking inside your mindset, even if you're lying in a hospital bed.
Yeah, 100%. And it's knowing that I have value, right? So I'm not here to convince anybody, that they need my services. If I've got to convince you, someone can convince you out of it. So you're not even ready for me anyways. So I got to know your mindset is right out the gate, because if not, then we're not going to be a good fit, because you know what's going to happen? You're going to blame me for all the inaction in your life. Why? Because you're already showing me right now. So out the gate, we're not a good fit. You're not at the place that I need you to be in order to work together. And that's okay. I can give you some action steps to work on in order to get there. And you can come back, circle back, and let's see if it works. But I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. If I can convince you into something, someone can convince you out of it. So no, thank you, right? I know the value that I bring. So for anyone who's listening, like for yourselves, know who you are, know the value that you bring, and you stay planted in that. So if someone is there to work with you, they'll work with you because they know the value. You don't have to convince them, right? I don't have to close a deal by closing a deal with my big long speech of whatever. No, I'm showing you who I am out the gate. Actually, I'm showing you who I am even beforehand, right? And so all those steps beforehand, all the communication beforehand, the way that I flow, the way that I show up in the world every day before I even come into this meeting, who I am precedes the presence of me in this room already. So this is what I have to offer. You decide. And that's it. You either are with me or you're not with me, but you'll find where you need to be, and I'll find the people that need to be working with me. That's it. Like, that's all you can control is who you are and how you show up in the world. And the people that are meant to be your people, the people that are meant to work with you, they'll find you and they'll work with you. If not, it's good, because I got a whole slew of people waiting. Thank you. Totally. Or I could show up, woe is me, and will they, or can't they, or should I, or if I say the right thing, if I don't do the right thing, oh my gosh, let me make sure that well, just don't even take the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even take the meeting.
Yeah, it's totally important to it's almost better to know who you're not looking for rather than who you're looking for. Because if you know what you're not looking for, eventually the right people will just show up. And I had one last question I want to ask you before we hop off here. What was the first dance that you did when you got out there? Was it a kind of dance? Was it a cha-cha, salsa?
It was salsa. Yes. So when the director of the physical rehab center sat me down and said, Ari, what would you like to work on while you're here? And I thought, that is a really dumb question because I'm here to walk. Now, in their world, I was there to learn how to be in a wheelchair. So she looked at me like I'm crazy. That's okay. And I said, no. When I said walk, I said, no. Dance out. And then she was like, oh, she's so cute. Okay, Ari. However, what ended up happening through the days that I was there is I was 100% not moved from that position. I'm not just going to walk out, I'm going to dance out. And I even had to fire a physical therapist because they didn't believe where my vision was. They believed their vision. And so I'm going to need you to get off my team. So some of you who are listening here, I really want you to take an audit of the people in your life, because some of you need to fire some people from your team because they're not walking in alignment with your vision. You will never get to your future present if they aren't aligned with it. So I had to fire them, and I had to find someone that would work with me in my future present. And I did. And I knew I found her when she said to me, Ari, what song are we dancing to? Oh yes. I was like, salsa. Okay. So from that point forward, every day we took steps. I didn't know what she was doing, but she started doing steps with me that were salsa steps. And so when the time came to leave the day, the day came for me to leave, she says, Ari, you remember everything that we worked on? And I was like, well, yeah, because I'm walking. And she goes, ready to dance? Holy smokes. So I danced out. Literally, they put salsa music on and I danced out with one of my physicians. Literally danced out of the rehab. It was beautiful. So it was salsa. Yeah. It took me a while to get into the 6-inch heels that I wear now. It took me a while to drive and all the things, but listen, I got dancing down in 21 days. And you can't do. What is the dance of your life that you want in your life that is at the other end of you? Because I'm not any more different than anybody here, period. You got to decide what you want within you. You got to decide with faith, focus, action, and commitment, because come what may, the best of you is at the other end of you. Thanks, Joshua.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on, and thanks for sharing your beautiful story. We'll see everyone next time. Bye, guys.